what's contracted is actually essence of Hashem in every drop of creation, of contraction. And that holding back, that Simpson, makes it possible for the creative beings not to become totally nullified in relation to their source, to the essence of the infinite life, which would be certain to occur if there was no restraining power on the infinite life. The name of this tractate that we're learning is called The Gate of Unification and Faith. The realization of unity and the faith in that godly unity, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, becomes, through these explanations, internalized in a person through his intellect. And from the mutual inclusion of these opposite attributes, it's evident that he and his causations are one. He and his attributes are one. It's not that there's Hashem and his attributes. It's all one thing. Because they are a complete unity within him, they are therefore unite with each other and are comprised of each other. So that the Kabura, the holding back and work in the way of chesed, in the way of kindness, like Elijah said, is the famous Elijah the prophet, about Hashem, you are he who ties them. Ties what? Hashem's attributes, and unites them. And apart from you, Hashem, there is no unity among these attributes. So notwithstanding that these divine attributes are infinite and opposite, it's Hashem himself who's running the show. He makes peace, shalom, between these opposites to accomplish what he wants. This then is the meaning of the scriptural phrase, the Piskon. Take into your heart and know this day that Havaya is Elohim in the heavens above, in the earth below, and there is no other. And the Tanya asks, would you think that there might be a God underneath the ocean to stress it? There is no other? In the heaven and the earth, there is no other? When we say no other, we don't mean that there is no other God. What we mean, there is nothing else besides Hashem. In the heavens above and the earth below, there's only Hashem. He alone enjoys true existence. Everything else is totally nullified in relation to him. And these two names are actually one. Havaya and Elohim are actually one. When I move, every move that I make, there's a stop. And it's one move. The stop will be like Elohim, the holding back, and the moving will be like Havaya, the outspread of light. And every move is comprised of both. Havaya represents kindness, chesed, spreading out. Elohim represents tzimtzum and holding back. And they're truly one part of the same act from Hashem. I'm going to stop here for a second, and I'm going to give tzedakah, which is a good idea for everybody to do every day. It gives Hashem nachas, and it's also a mitzvah. You see, on one hand I move my hand, on the other hand I stop it where it has to go. Same too when Hashem creates the world. There's a spreading out and a constraint. And they're both part of the same act of kindness. That's what it says. He and his names are one. His attributes, the names, are all part of him. Elohim is really one with Havaya. Therefore you will know that in the heavens above, the earth below, there is no other besides Hashem. There exists nothing else besides Hashem. Even here in the material physical earth, which appears to everyone's eyes to be actually existing, there it is, it exists. It is really nothing and complete nothingness in relation to the Holy One, blessed be He, who's bringing it into being, because it's a name Elohim that obscures on the infinite light. It contracts the light and life force. Only for us, Hashem sees and knows that everything is in Him. But we perceive as if we possess independent existence. But for Hashem, He understands that Havaya is Elohim, it's all Him. Therefore, the name Elohim cannot obscure for Him. At first glance, we can understand it of how a body is subordinate to a soul, which is the life force of the body. But the soul does not bring the body into existence like Hashem brings everything into existence. The soul only provides the life force for the body. But Hashem brings everything to existence from nothing. Everything is absolutely nullified, therefore, in relation to the one who brings them into existence. Like the light of the sun is absolutely zero inside the flame of the sun. Therefore, the analogy of a soul to a body bears no similarity whatsoever to the object of comparison, which is how Hashem enlivens the world. The soul and the body are actually separate from each other in their source. The source of the body and its essence comes into being not from the soul, but from the seed of the father and mother. That's where the body comes from. And even afterwards, after it's a soul, it lives off the food that the mother eats. And later on, after it's born, it lives off of food. The heaven and earth is not like that. Hashem is always bringing them into being every second. Their being and essence was brought into existence from nothing at the 6 days and continually renewed every instant by divine speech. Before the creation of space, space means north, west, east, south, up and down. There was no space at all. It was just nothing. Only through the word of Hashem and the breath of His mouth, space comes into being. And now too, as the Baal Shem Tov said, your word stands forever in every created being. It flows into everything continuously to give it life. And brings everything anew from nothing, just like the light of the sun comes out of the sun, where it is absolutely nothing in the flame of the sun. Therefore, the created beings, which include space and time, which are also creations, are completely nullified out of existence. In relationship to the word of Hashem and the breath of His mouth, which are unified with His essence and being, just like the light of the sun is nullified in the flame of the sun. Now, it seems to me, it looks like to me in my peripheral vision, I have very good peripheral vision, like the 3,000-year-old puppet is getting up from his nap, and wants to do a turn with Uncle Hershey. Yeah, thank you. You see it?
Oh, but Sal, when you get my age, you'll be happy if you have any vision at all.
I lost it.
It's
Oh, here. Oh. Herschel, you're up.
Okay, we're ready for another edition of the Jewish Experience here. We've got with us once again our favorite interview subject, the 3,000-year-old puppet who was there.
I was there, you know.
And that's an amazing thing because he was actually there. So we don't have to ask him, what do you think he saw? He knew what he saw because he was there. So anyway.
Yeah, I think I know what I saw.
What'd you see? Anyway, the point is, that's one of the points.
What's the point?
That's one of the points.
Either that or I know what I think I saw, something like
Okay,
that.
so we'll talk about it. The parsha this week is Shelach, and no, it says the parsha opens with Shelach Lecha. It's to send for yourself. Why does it say send for yourself? You know that?
I actually do.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, I mean, I might know different things. You
Okay,
say,
fine.
Maybe it's a different.
Well, I'll tell you,
thing.
it's just very simple. And obviously, Hashem was taking him in, and they should have complete emunah shlema in the fact that Hashem was taking him in. But so when they wanted to see, they wanted to take care. They figured they had to do this. So Hashem said to them, "Shelach lecha, send for yourself. You want to see what's going on? Go ahead and take a look." And then they were very careful. They picked the leaders of all the tribes, and all the big shots, and all the big guys, and all the big machers, and all that stuff.
Real machers.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a sikha on this about send for you.
Yep.
That the Rebbe, I was there when I was there when he said it.
Okay.
And that send for you. You know how like the Rebbes, they said, I forget which Rebbe. I was there, but doesn't mean I remember everything. But he said, what you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to do. What you are allowed to do doesn't mean you necessarily need it.
You did, right.
So this is sent for you. In other words, there's some things that the Eibishter says, do like this, and do like this, and do like this. And this you're not allowed to do. And then there's other things that we're allowed to do. It also don't mean, even in these things, we have
They
to
didn't
have...
have to do it, but they wanted
Right.
to do it.
So
They
these
wanted
things
to
we
do it.
have to have the seichel also to know that even the things we're allowed to do, to make sure to use it for the right reasons. And this, like we become a partner with the Eibishter, is not just him telling us what to do.
That's
It's
right.
also him, through our knowledge of the Torah and our will to be Hasidim and close to the Eibishter, that we do, even in the things we're allowed to do, we make sure only in for the right reasons.
And that's
also.
why they're very careful of who they sent, because the fact that they even wanted to do it means they had a little question, Chas v'shalom, about Shem.
Right. I guess
And
not
they
careful
didn't do it.
enough about who they chose. Eh?
That's right, that's right. So they had to be very careful. In fact, some of them got brachas, specific brachas, that they wouldn't fall into the general concept of the meraglim, that they would get taking the wrong ideas of what's going on. So
Exactly. There was a big lesson here also. Because when the Eibishter told Moshe, he didn't tell him send, people called them the spies. They wasn't spies. It actually says, go and explore the land.
Right.
He didn't, in other words, when a Jew is acting in the right way and doing the right thing, you don't sneak. You go proud, open. And in other words, we're coming to look and see what's tutzich over here.
right, but they wanted to be like, under the radar. So that's why they call them spies. But they
Yeah.
didn't have to do that.
But actually, it doesn't say spies in there, but that's what we call them.
Right.
Now, anyway, so it's another funny thing of this is that Moshe told them to bring back fruits, yeah?
Right.
Now, it doesn't actually say to bring back grapes, he says to bring fruits.
Right.
But then, the Torah goes and says, and this was the time when the grapes was ripening. Wait a second, why not just say when the fruits was ripening? Why grapes? And it's interesting because the grapes is a very specific thing.
Right.
And in other words, if you want to go and you want to make everything Eretz Yisrael, you have to learn from a grape. That the grape is the only fruit you can see the seed through a skin.
Right.
And the same thing is if you want to do the right thing and make everywhere Eretz Yisrael, what you have to do, you have to make so that the skin, the klippe, right? In other words, the physical tools that we use for
Right.
Yiddishkeit, that we do to make holy, should become translucent. They should become secondary to the holy things.
The thing is, if you eat too much of them, then you can really come up with a real good ape.
Yeah, real kaduchis in the kaduchis in
Good
your.
ape all the
Never mind.
time, right.
Anyways, they come back, and what do they say? Right away, they begin talking about the giants there, and the big giant fruits and everything. Now, which is interesting, because then right away, right, Kalev, he silences them. Quiet, Shash Stiller. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second.
But see, you know, the thing is,
Okay.
the question is, what did they really
Production!
think about themselves? Let me fix your hat over there.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so it's interesting because in this thing, yeah, the Kalev sound. Why they silence them? They didn't say nothing bad yet. They said exactly what Moshe told them to do.
Right.
Moshe told them, go see who's the people and what the focus is and what is going on there and come report. So they was reporting. So why Kalev got nervous? Because he saw that they messed their priorities up over here.
Right.
In other words, you see when Moshe spoke to them, right, what did he first say? First he was worried about conquering the land like the Eibishter told us.
Right.
And only then he spoke about the rewards, about how great the land will be. When the spies came, they flipped the order the other direction.
Right.
They started first talking about how big the fruits, and only then they started talking about the giants. In other words, they was talking about the rewards first. All the things you're going to get. So right away, Kalev, that's why he silenced them, because he right away, he chapped it that they have something gone clapped in the
Right.
mind, is gone crazy, and they flipped all the things around. He was messing the priorities around, and that's why he schmecked it. But it smelled like a rotten
That's why
herring
it also-
that was trouble brewing.
That's why it also points out that they were like, you know, in their own eyes, they felt like they were small. I mean, that's the whole thing. It was in their own eyes.
Right,
It's
because
not that
because not only that, in the beginning, that's why Moshe told them, don't despise, explore. In other words, we coming in, God told us we're taking the land, and we walking up, looking around.
Right.
But see, that's right. They in their own eyes.
Yeah, but
Good
there's
point.
another secret agenda too. And that's the concept is in the midbar, they had everything handed to them. They had they had everything done, the clothes were clean. All they had to do was learn and die. That's all they had to do. Everything else was taken care of. When they went into the land, they knew they'd have to work the land, they'd have to schwitz. they'd
Right,
have
they was
to
gonna
do-
have to. It's
and
not
do
like in
all
a
that
midbar
stuff.
where there was mon and you could sit
Right.
and play all day.
And that they felt it was more spiritual and more befitting the service.
Well, I mean, they was right.
Right.
You know, they was right over there
Yeah, but
because
that's not what it
because
is.
they was right. In other words, when Moshiach comes, what you have a different show going on over there, Chavre?
Pay no attention to the noise at the other end of the room over there.
Anyways, so what happens is what we was talking about. You see, I'm old. I forget what I'm talking about. But anyways,
Talking
this
about
is
the real
no. So the
agenda,
truth
why
is,
the spies came
they was
back
right
and
because when
reported.
Moshiach comes, will be this way.
Right.
That we're gonna sit in line, and it says that the other people will take care of all the physical needs, so that because the Yidden's only job will be to learn Torah.
Correct. But this time it was not the time, and
No,
they
it
should
wasn't
have
the
listened to
time.
Hashem and do what's right when he wanted it at the time. he
Right,
wanted
and
it.
they got punished for this
Big time.
because first of all, from this the Abishah told them, you're all gonna stay
You wanna
here.
live in the desert?
You're all
Fine.
gonna- yeah,
You're
you'll
be
live
in the
here.
desert.
You're gonna
till
stay
you-
here. You're gonna
till
die
You're
here.
gonna lose it in the desert.
Like besides for Kalev and Yeshua.
Right,
They
but at least
didn't.
they got a full life. I mean, it says nobody
Right.
died till they were 60.
Well,
So-
besides for the actual spies,
Well, the
besides
guys,
for the
right,
two,
the
they
guys,
died
right,
right
they
away.
said
Hop, they was like walking
right.
in the street. Okay, hop. Oi,
Yeah,
what's this?
that's
Oh,
it.
kaduchis.
Kedugas to the Afghanistan.
Out,
It's Kedugas to the
finito.
Afghanistan sideways. That's
Yeah,
what really
it's
got it.
geworden a
Right,
Grayson,
that was
it's
good.
geworden a Grayson hasta la vista,
That's it.
baby. To get tightened and
Kedugas,
killed.
right.
Yeah.
Kaput.
Anyways,
Right.
Moshe davens the Eibishter, and it's interesting here because he doesn't daven for the Eibishter not to punish them,
Right.
like he did by the calf. And it's funny because you would think the golden calf was a much bigger sin, you know. So one of the reasons was actually the people making trouble here was the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude that
Right,
came
right.
from Egypt. So Moshe didn't think that everybody would get punished, but because he didn't stand up for the right thing, they got punished anyways.
And
Anyways,
this also teaches you gotta be careful who you hang around with, you know?
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
very serious, because
absolutely.
they can give you a bad omen.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife gets nervous when I hang out with you. You know,
If you
that's,
would've Yeah, but I elevate you, that's a whole difference here,
that's a different situation.
big time.
Anyways,
Anyway,
then the people all of a sudden they go, oh wait, no, Visai, no, we want to go to Eretz Yisrael. Come, let's get this swords and the
now they
weapons.
say it, right.
Oh, let's go. And then Moshe says, no.
You gotta listen to that.
Nay, I say, because he says if you will go up there, the people they will kill you, they will wipe you out, they will clean your nose like a tissue.
Right, not just that, but Hashem said he's not going to be with them. They'll be
Right.
up there on their own.
On their own, you go,
That's the
but
problem.
I'm not with you now.
Right, you don't
You
go
know?
anywhere without the Eibushter.
Yeah. So, anyways, so they're not allowed to go. Now, something interesting is right after this, it talks about the libations, the wine libations.
Right.
And what we learn from this is something very interesting. Is that the wine libations comes after when they do a point offering. You know, Leib, health. You know the offering, it gets point. B-O-I-N-T, point.
Point.
Yeah, it's a point offering, and then he put the wine libation. Why?
Right.
Because what's the point offering? The point offering wants to go all the way up to the Eibishter, right? But the wine libation, where you pull? Because gravity pulls my nose and the wine libation down. Verstehst?
Right.
So anyways, so it makes the wine libation goes down. It was to show that in other words, you people thought, no, we're going to stay in the desert. We're going to be only learning. We're not going to go to the physical things. So the wine libation teaches, no, it's not only to go up. You have to also make sure to do down here with the physical things is what's
That's
important. You have to go into Eretz Yisrael.
That's right. So
You know?
that was the whole deal.
Yeah, and then it talks about challah.
Right.
Yeah, about the challah. But then when you make a dough, you have to take from the dough and you have to give it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then oh, by the way, there's an interesting thing because why this after this it's by the challah, right? It also talks about right after this. It talks about if people come to worship idols. What's the connection? Why challah with idol worship? Because a challah also represents making money. That you're making money, right? And people they come to mistake. They forget that the Eibishter brings the money, not the boss and not the business and not the markets. And you know it can be wie sagt man, a bull market or a bogus market. Wie sagt man?
That's why people always say, how many challahs did you make this week?
Yeah. So anyway, so the main thing is you have to remember Reishis Arisei Seichem, the first of your dough you have to give to the Eibishter.
Right.
That you have to remember that your money, first of all, the Eibishter is a partner with you in the money. And you remember this by also being a partner with the Eibishter, like the Tzal before was giving tzedakah, right? Why this is so important? Because then you're also remembering in your money that the Eibishter is your partner.
Right.
You know? And then after this was this one guy. This one guy was gathering sticks on Shabbos.
Right.
And they told him, hey, buddy, was tut sich dort? You can't gather sticks on Shabbos. And he said, I know, I don't care. And Kushmirin, well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And anyways, so they was gathering the sticks and they took him to Moshe and they put him there to put him in jail because he didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know what's supposed to happen with him. And Moshe said they will stone him, right? And then the other people said, can we get stoned too? And he said, no, only this guy because he broke Shabbos. And then after this, it talks about the commandments of
Everybody
tzitzis.
wanted to get stoned. I mean,
Yeah,
we
and then it talks about the
want to
commandments.
get stoned.
That's the one. And anyways, then he talks about the commandment of tzitzis because tzitzis is important because you see all these things happen because they forgot that it's the Eibishter. You know the tzitzis.
Tzitzis
Reminds us of the
right.
Eibishter. Yeah, it's right here under my tool belt.
Yeah, and also it reminds me to make.
Hey,
sure
listen, if
my
you was
phone-
wearing a skirt like me, you wouldn't see
Yeah, it
the
reminds
tzitzis,
me
okay?
to be to do the mitzvahs and to be
Right,
holy.
and that's to be holy, and that's Parsha Shelach for you.
That's it.
It's a great Parsha, really, no?
That's another exciting parsha in the can, just for you on the Gezintahait Street program.
That's right.
And now,
Back to you,
Mitzvah!
Mitzvah! Thanks so much, Maishi.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, like a bench. See you next week.
All right.
Thank you, boys. Give him a hand. Yay!
All right. On the road again. Me and you and the 3,000-year-old puppet.
He's a schmuppet,
Muppet puppet.
Okay, so like we said, the tzimtzum and the concealment is only for the lower worlds. Hashem himself, there is no concealment. For example, when a teacher teaches a kid a subject, he doesn't tell him everything he knows. He hides a lot of it. But it doesn't mean he doesn't know what's going on. So too, he holds back so that the creations feel that they exist, but Hashem really knows that everything is really nullified to him. The above enables us to understand the teaching of the Zohar that Shema Yisroel is the higher unity and Baruch Shem Kavod is the lower unity. In the prayer, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Are we able to see this at all, or is it too little? See, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That symbolizes the higher unity where everything is completely nullified to Hashem. And Baruch Shem Kavod, bless the glory of his name forever and ever, indicates the lower unity. He's going to explain now the difference between the higher unity and the lower unity. Basically, the higher unity is how everything is completely nullified to Hashem and His infinite light. And the lower unity refers to the divine faculty of creative speech, which is called Malchus, which is called Hashem's attribute of kingship or royalty, and where that kingship and royalty is found in its source. Listen, Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. That's the higher unity. Like the letters of speech are first included in the letters of thought and in the emotions of the person who's going to speak. Then the subsequent speech becomes letters of speech that go out from the person. So too in the supernal creative speech, we're saying supernal creative speech, it means the decree of the king that creates everything from nothing is at the stage when it's still included with the supernal attributes, like the level of thought, and those attributes being infinite are too lofty to serve as the source of creation, because creation is limited to space and time. And space has limits and time has limits. But creation, as it exists in its source, is united with Hashem at the higher level of unity. And its manner of nullification is similar to the nullification of the sun's rays as they are found within the globe or in the flame of the sun, where the rays do not exist separately from the sun. That's the higher unity. That's how Hashem's creative power is included in Him. When, however, the divine created power of speech, the level of Malchus, the level of kingship, after it undergoes a process of contraction, of consuming, it comes to a curtain. It descends to a level where it is able to serve as a source of creation, which is called divine speech. Then the term lower level unity applies. Created beings at this level cannot be said to be utterly nullified to Hashem. After all, like it says, in the beginning Hashem created the heaven and earth. There is an existing heaven and earth. For inasmuch as this level becomes the actual source of created beings, they must have some measure of identity in relation to this godly speech. Even though this level, this lower unity, is pervaded by the infinite light, which unites with the divine, faculty of created speech, this unification, this lower unification, wherein created beings are seen to have some measure of existence. Even a nullified form of existence but they do exist. And the cause and reason for the existence of the created beings, and therefore of the power of tzimtzum, the power of constraint, of holding back of the infinite, to be the life force of the world, making everything appear that exists independently, and the reason for it, as is known, the purpose of creation of the world is so that Hashem can be the king. The desire of Hashem is he should be a king, and a king can only be a king over a separate people. And that's the reason for this holding back and the revelation of a world. Those subjects of the king comprise a nation, and they're separate entities and distinct from the level of the king. And that's who he reigns over, those separate entities, that people. And they nullify themselves to him. They exist, and they do what he wants. And that's Hashem's desire, to have a separate existence that does what he wants. And even if a king had a whole bunch of children and a whole bunch of ministers, he still wouldn't be a king. You need a separate people to be a king. And with that numerous separate people there, you could see the glory of the king. Therefore, this attribute of royalty, this attribute of malchus, which creates the separate existences, is because of Hashem's desire to be the king, and he creates things that are completely separate entity and are not absolutely nullified so that they have the free choice to make him their king. And when you have the term world, means that you have to have space and time. Space, like we said, is east, west, south, north, up and down. And time is past, present, and future. And these dimensions of space and time have no relation to the holy supernal attributes of the world of Atzilus, where there is a complete actual unity. Because the attributes there are infinite. And only the level of malchus of speech can we say that he's a king who's above without limit and down below without stopping. He fills all four directions. And also in time it says he is the king, he was the king, and he will be the king. Therefore you see that malchus is connected to space and time. I see that it's getting late. The chef is getting ready to give me a nudge to finish up. And this basic explanation, remember we said that this book is called The Gate of Unity and Faith. This explanation explains the unity, but there is no comprehension in the creative being of the Creator and its complete unity, and therefore we have to employ the level of faith to be able to get some recognition of godliness.
Habit Saleh! In just one moment, it's a crazy band is going to play a wonderful nigun. But first, I wanted to give the people, I wanted to give them a wonderful recipe. I want to teach them how to make a sauerkraut. But not like a regular, like you buy like some kind of jar. I mean like one from home that is properly probiotic and good for you.
Oh.
You take a cabbage and you chop it up. Chop into little pieces like that, right? And then you put it inside. You might need 2 jars, but I put it in a quart jar, one of those, how you call, those ball bearing jars. What is called? Those
ball
Mason
jar.
jar.
Mason jar. Oh, Lev, you are so smart. Oh, the mason jar, yes. and then you with a Mason-Dixon jar, yes. And then you put it in the, well, first you put it in a bowl, and you put about a table, you put, well, for each jar you're going to make, you put a tablespoon of salt in there, and you mush it a little with your hands, and it will start to sweat. It starts to become a little bit liquid on the bottom. Then you know it is starting to get ready. It is starting to turn like a good schmaltz herring, you know. Then you take it and you put it in a jar and you pour some water. You do not want to pour tap water. This has chlorine. It will kill the fermentation. You take like a, you know, purified water, something like this, or filtered water. They have no chlorine, and you pour it inside to cover it. Then you put on top. You want to let the air touch it, but you don't want all those little baggy wuggies inside your sauerkraut. Even though they are very full of protein, they don't taste very good. So you put like either a cheesecloth piece, or you can put just a piece of t-shirt, any kind of
what's good?
What's good?
A coffee filter.
Oh, that's a brilliant, a coffee filter. This would work fine. It do not let no buggy wuggies, but it let the air in, so the air can react and ferment and bring the good bacteria that is good for your tummy in there. And you leave it like this. You just make sure it stays under the water.
Question, you don't put garlic in also?
If you want, you can. That comes next. But the basic sauerkraut, you just put the water on top, and it's it maybe 2-3 days is when it starts being ready. Different people, some people like let it sit a little bit longer, 4 or 5 days. And then you can put it in the refrigerator. Will slow down the fermentation a lot, so it don't keep fermenting. And then you can put, like you say, you can put garlic in there. You can put caraway seeds. Is very good sometimes. Different things. You can experiment with what else you want to put. But it is so good for your tummy. You have wonderful bacteria for you.
Good for the gut.
Oh, very good for the gut. And now, speaking about the gut, the crazy Gezintahait street the band.
Good. The gut
The
is
gut.
good.
Yeah, but look, see it? If you have a moon on the outside, then you can turn on this guy. Whoa.
No way.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
All right.
And now I guess we'll have our sign-off, so.
Sounds good.
Ready?
That's right.